Good morning. I'm Maureen Hydale. I'm the president for one day yet. I'm the interim president and the vice president of LWMS Heritage Circuit. As you can see, it's after 9:30 and we have not started yet, but I want to welcome all of you that are watching virtually. Slowly but surely, the ladies and the gentlemen will be coming into church, and we will be starting with our opening devotion. So if you need to grab something to eat or drink or take a bathroom break, I encourage you to do it now. And then we will be starting with our opening devotion. So welcome to those that are watching. If you have any audio or visual issues, make sure you text Deb Wilder, and I gave you that phone number in the email, email. So we will be with you shortly, and thank you for joining us. Have a good day. I just want to let the virtual know we're starting at 9:30.
Oh, sure.
So if you do a welcome, make sure we got maybe 5 minutes. I didn't know where to look.
There's that, and that.
Good
morning.
I could not.
Where are you all from?
I'm from here.
You're from Newark. Nobody's from Newark.
Well, since I had an introduction out there.
Where are you from?
I'm from King of Prussia.
Oh, that's okay.
Being in a great we're going to miss that.
Like I said, what's my name?
Oh my goodness, you're not making me look like you.
He has short hair.
And my hair's really long.
So are you doing this for?
Oh yeah, and also I'm in National Archive and Service Hours.
So you're doing
Yeah. And I think this school requires, so like the National Honor Society, you have to be like accepted into it.
Instead of a
Our retirement center. And the chaplain brings life to a community in an interfaith mission. Yes, I'm living in Wesley, enhanced living. It's retirement.
How are you doing?
Great, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing good.
Good. Good to see you all.
Good morning, ladies. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Maureen Hydale, as you probably heard already. Alicia. Thank you for sharing.
I just wrote something in the boards. So you fighting for Christ.
No, wink, wink. I know how that is. I have to get too neat.
We're losing our kids.
I know one lady that both shoulders and both knees.
Actually, the middle of Jubilee is last sermon. Or it had 2 notes. Too much a graciously pulled. Yes. Thank you.
And Stephanie, you know, from the rally, or is that Stephanie Shirley? Oh, it's probably been so 6 months ago. And Alex or we are gonna make a joyful night. Just so you know.
You have yours? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Good to meet Maureen. I'm Joe. From Keith. I was, and they He made me do me, I don't know, it's Karen. Remember that? I didn't get a chance to see her. Jenny was coming.
Have these stained glass windows always been there like that? Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm like, these are
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Pastor Burke.
Wow, thank you. This is St. John's Lutheran Church, and my name is Pastor Paul. That's how I decided to write it, because that's what the younger guys are doing, and they're cool, so Pastor Paul. I was told that the windows look a little different since the last time you were here.
Amen.
So I wanted to tell you the story behind those, at least those 6 right there. What we decided to go with was kind of the life of Christ, the life of Jesus, the things that are important. Everything in the Bible is important, but the main articles of faith for us and our salvation. You'll start with the second window, and it's, of course, the birth of Jesus. And then the third window is Jesus as our good shepherd. The fourth window is something we observed just a few days ago in the crucifixion. And then, of course, we have Easter, the second to last window. And both of those, or all of those windows in the middle, are bookended by the 2 sacraments. So we thought that that would be something neat to do in the order to do it, because it's those sacraments through which God gives us the grace that He gives us in a very special way. To understand all that stuff in the middle. So I hope that made sense to you. Today, I was asked to do the opening devotion as the host pastor, and I'd like to share with you something from the book of Mark. And it's something that you're very familiar with as a Christian, and it's also something that you've been hearing over these last few weeks. It's titled The Crucifixion. But I want to think of it today as the world's greatest humanitarian effort. We hear a lot about humanitarian efforts, and I have one of my own that I wanted to share with you before I read these words. First thing I wanted to share was a story about a time when I was in Mogadishu in 1993. I don't know if you know this, I was in the service from 1986 to 1993, and I had the privilege of serving that way. Our country is now I have a privilege of serving this way in the ministry. We went to Mogadishu. I was a sergeant at our company, and our company commanding officer decided that we needed to get over to Somalia. And everything had already been happening there. Everything had already been being taken care of with the humanitarian effort. So I was a little confused as to why we were going. But we were the last to go. We were the last 9 to fly on a really big plane. So we felt like this was very empty because there was just 9 of us on it, no seats. But we got there, and one of the first memories I have, one of the most, the things that is burned in my memory is when we were riding in a Humvee, and we were riding through the middle of Somalia, the capital city of Mogadishu. And the reason I remember it is because I felt more threatened for my life that day than I did the entire time I was in Desert Storm. And it's because there were enemies that we didn't know where they were. Snipers, gang members, and they were threatening and hurting the civilians there in Somalia. I'm sure you know the story. That was one of the recollections I have. There was 4 of us on the back of the Humvee, and we each took a corner with our rifles, and we tried to protect ourselves and those in the front of the Humvee. The second thing I remember, or one of the 3 things that I remember, is we one time went to a teaching village, and it was a really cool place. We pulled in there, and it was just a small community of people that were teaching kids, and there was a lot of ladies there, a lot of women. And we had our MREs, and we had a bunch of things to share with them to try to help them in our humanitarian effort.
MRE?
Oh, sorry, MRE. What is that?
Food.
It's food.
Sort of.
It's food. Yeah, meal ready to eat. And I love sarcasm, and those meals ready to eat were delicious, especially over time. But they were very wonderful for the people there that were in this teaching village. They absolutely loved them. And then we had all kinds of other stuff to give them too, like lotion and shampoo and things like that they just absolutely loved because they don't have that stuff. I gave one lady a bottle of shampoo that I thought was lotion, and I said, just put it on, it's really nice, and she did, and it was not lotion, it was shampoo. I didn't know, she didn't know, we just left it at that. That was very cool. The third thing that I remember is driving again through a village in Somalia. And we were in the back of the Humvee this time, it was covered. And we were driving, and there were a bunch of little kids following us. A bunch of little Somalia kids. And they were really, really skinny. Looked very unhealthy, but very big tummies. So they were running after our Humvee that was driving, I don't know, we were probably going about 10 miles an hour, so fast enough to stay in front of them, but not too fast to where they could keep up with us still. We were throwing treats out the back for them, including bottles of water, and then they started diving after them and tackling each other for them to get that water and those treats, because those are things that are special and they don't have. And then we realized, what kind of humanitarian thing are we doing here? We're hurting them more than we're helping them, at least that day with what we were doing. The big picture, however, is that was a wonderful effort. That was a wonderful thing that we did to help those people there in that humanitarian effort. that I got to see only the last part of it, the last month, and it was nice to be a part of that. I noticed the flags in the back, or in the entryway, and I didn't happen to see the flag of Somalia, understandably, but it's a blue flag, and they have a star, just like we're used to picturing it, the 5-point star, representing the different areas of Somalia, the Somali people. But this isn't really what I'm here to talk about, even though I spent the majority of the devotion talking about it. It's really meant to warm you up to the greatest humanitarian effort ever, and that was, of course, our Savior. Jesus, he went on a path like we went on a path. We went on a path through Mogadishu, but Jesus was called the Via Dolorosa. And the path that he took wasn't to provide MREs or bottles of water to people to provide for their earthly sustenance, but instead it was to provide a clean slate and a payment for all of their wrongdoings, the world's. And he took that path and he made that sacrifice necessary. And I just want to read these words to you. It's from Mark. I just chose Mark because it's very succinct, but it's Mark 15, verses 20 to 24. When they had mocked him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothing on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. A certain man, Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by on his way in from the country. They forced him to carry Jesus' cross. They brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of a skull. They tried to give him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. They crucified him, and they divided his garments, casting lots for them to decide what each of them would take. And you're thinking, we just celebrated Easter. Why are we reliving this again? I think Easter, many people feel Easter is the greatest celebration for a Christian, because without Jesus coming out of that tomb, what is the rest of it about? However, I also feel like unless you go with your Savior and follow him with his cross like Simon did, carrying his cross, not only his own, and seeing what Jesus did out of such incredible love for us during those 40 days of Lent, Easter doesn't mean quite as much to us. What an amazing Savior that we have that displays such love in such a way that we get to feel it, we get to taste it, we get to smell it, and we get to hear it. A Savior that was willing to go on the greatest humanitarian effort, not to provide for our bodies, but to take care of our souls, so that no matter which path you're ever on in life, you got it all. You got it all because of him. I can say a prayer and then hand it over to Ms. Penny. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for going that way of the cross, going to Golgotha to take care of that sacrifice that was necessary for the world's salvation. We thank you for this because of what it means to us, that it gives us hope living in this world, no matter which path we're on in life. We have the joy of knowing that our destiny is in your hands and we will be with you forever in heaven. We ask that you bless our time together this morning and this afternoon at this rally. Give us excitement and enthusiasm for the work being done in our synod. We ask all this in your saving name. Amen. The hymn. We're going to do the hymn before I hand it off to Miss Penny. So I was at the dentist the other day because I have a tooth that's bothering me. And you already know where I'm going with this? The dentist said this is my favorite hymn, Crown Him with Many Crowns. It's our favorite hymn this morning because we're singing it. But I need to tell you about the special instructions and how we sing this. So we're going to start singing it. Everybody's seated. And then according to the directions, we're going to start standing. Each person will stand when it says your month of birth. Okay, your birth month. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so when your birth month comes up, stand up, and then we'll all remain standing until we get to the amen at the end. Okay? Let's sing.
Welcome, all you beautiful ladies. We're just so glad you're here. My goodness, oh, the mic. I'm sorry. Welcome, all you beautiful ladies. We are so glad you are here. We're glad you had a safe and wonderful trip. And now I want to give you a few little instructions. The bathrooms are to your right. There's the gentlemen and the ladies. And in the back, we have 2 bathrooms in the fellowship hall. You're welcome to use those as well. We do have mics that come down from the lights, so if you have a little personal conversation, you might want to take it to the back because they can hear you online, okay? Okay. And as a nice little surprise, you all get to take a flower home with you on the table. Okay, and after this, you get to pack a little bag for some snacks to take with you, okay? And now I have a question for you. Do you ladies know that we all have a flower on our face? Do you know that? Do you know what it is? Tulips. Have a great day. God bless.
Pastor Huffman, you ready now? Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
I don't know about online.
Online, all right. My voice is a little bit thin today, been struggling with that. but I'm glad for microphones. My privilege to have served our circuit as the pastoral advisor, but I'm also privileged to have also served for a number of years as the circuit pastor for this area, the Hudson, Delaware circuit. So I get the privilege of introducing two of our brothers. First, Pastor Borman, who will be speaking for us today, part of my circuit, not part of our LWMS circuit, as they're part of the Freedom Circuit up north. But Pastor Tim Borman has come to us from the seminary in 2008. Was assigned to Sure Foundation as, I believe, the fourth pastor that was assigned there, to our mission in New York City, in Queens, where he has served in a bilingual congregation for his entire ministry for these 14 years. He has his wife and 3 children live there in New York. Kids have all been born in New York. Got married just before he got here, so they've spent their life with us, and it's been a great privilege for us to share his experiences, to lift him up in prayer, but most of all to be blessed by his insights, gifts, and abilities as we see the mission work the Lord is doing in the great metropolitan area of New York City. So we invite him here to be our first presenter, and so please welcome Pastor Timothy Borman. Dr. Timothy Borman.
In a second, I will. Yeah, I'm going to save it for, I don't want to distract people yet.
Thank you for the invitation this morning. And Pastor Burke, this is for you. I'm going to do my best to forget about that joke that you told about crowning with many crowns. Because I absolutely love that hymn. And the last thing I want to do, like on Easter Sunday, is think about you in a dentist chair. So I'm going to try to forget that, but I might not be able to. I'm really upset by that. I don't want crown him to many crowns to be changed for me. Let's see. I'm going to try to forget that.
It can be like one of those earworms, Pastor, that you just let it go and it just won't come back.
That I do have a really bad memory. Amanda, my wife, would say that about me. So let's hope that I don't care too much about what Pastor Burke thinks. I'm just giving you a hard time. Thank you again for having me. I just wanted to introduce myself again a little bit and thank Roger's been my circuit pastor for a really long time. So if I say anything wrong here this morning, we're going to blame him for that. Like Roger said, I've been the pastor of Sure Foundation Lutheran Church in Queens, New York. So we're in a little part of New York. We use neighborhoods like Greenwich Village is a famous one, or Harlem. I'm in a little neighborhood called Woodside. That's where our church is. And well, let me just ask you this: how many of you? I'm assuming many of you have been to New York City before. So yeah, the vast majority. That's kind of cool. Sometimes when I do these rallies, a lot of people haven't been. So how many of you have been on the 7 train? The number 7, yeah. Here we go.
I'm from New York. I'm from New York.
Oh, you're from New York? No way. Okay, yeah. So we're on we're like, our church is literally underneath the 7 train, and that's our neighborhood, and we're pretty used to having conversations like the train will go by and we just stop and stare at each other for a while because it's really, really loud. What's your name? Delcia knows that. You just got to stop talking for a while, and then you continue the conversation. So I've been there since 2008. My kids are true New Yorkers. They were born there. Taylor was born in 2011, and Brooke, I have a daughter. Brooke is now 8, and Felicity is 6. They were born right off of Central Park. They can't imagine living anywhere else, which I think is really, really cool, because Amanda and I always think about living somewhere else. Because we grew up about in the Midwest, and we like our cars, and we like having backyards, and they just don't, that's not even on their radar. They love New York. They don't want to go anywhere else. And I always kind of wanted that for my kids, and I've always thought our church needs more people like that, where they're like, this is our home. Why would we want to be anywhere else? I'm married to a wonderful lady. Some of you probably know her. Her name's Amanda. They're home today. She's a senior financial analyst for a company called Daktronics. Maybe your board's by Daktronics, I'm not sure. They make electronic boards. So if you look above the highway and in the corner, I think most of them are by Daktronics. Or if you go to the Mets game, I'm a huge Mets fan, no-hitter last night. Anybody? Any Mets fans? Yeah. Big deal for me, at least. They make the big boards. She was working on a deal with Real Madrid, so they're going to do the boards. So that's my wife. She's just a fantastic mom, fantastic contributor to our church, and then also she works full-time on the side. So that's a little bit about my family. This morning, I'm going to do 4 different things. I wanted to just introduce myself a little bit. We're going to do a little introductory quiz. I have a little bit of fun with something on the line. I actually have some swag for you to take home. And then I'm going to do a little presentation. It's already up on the screen there, called The Call to the City. And unabashedly, I have kind of 2 big goals. The first one is, and I know this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen because the Holy Spirit's here, is that we would just go home super encouraged by the power of the gospel. And if that happens and we go home, just our hearts are full from the sisterhood, the brotherhood that we have here in the gospel, then I figure then I've done my job. But I also have a huge second goal, and I'm going to be unabashed and shameless about it. I'd like you all to come to Rochester this summer.
Yes.
And I'm going to be one of the keynote speakers there. And I told Roger that. I was like, Roger, do you think they want to hear from me twice in 3 months?
Yes.
I don't know. And apparently he must have run that by some of your leaders, and he said, well, we can probably put up with them a couple different times. So I am not going to give the same presentation up there. I'm not. And I'm going to save the good stuff for Rochester. I didn't want to tell you that before this morning. But all the good stuff. So this is going to be a very different presentation. In Rochester, what we're going to do together is, I've been thinking about it like this. It's going to be like a missionary novella. Have you ever read NPH a long time ago, Northwestern Publishing House? They put out a fantastic trilogy, actually, and it's no longer available. I wish they would, and I think it's because some of the terminology about reservations and stuff has changed since this trilogy was written, and rightly so, right? But there was this trilogy put out by one of our missionaries named Gustav Harders. Have you heard of these books? Gustav Harders. Did you read them? Fantastic.
Parts of them, yes.
Parts of them. And so one of them's called La Paloma, another one's called Do Hashtata. And I grew up, so I'm getting a couple head nods. And I think you can even find them on Amazon today, but they're one of those books that they'll charge them like $200 for it, because you just can't find it anymore. But when my dad used to read these books to me when I was a kid, and I do that with my kids now, and there's parts of them where I start weeping because the missionary is sharing the gospel with this man that he called Dohashta, and Dohashta in that language means no. He just would never become a Christian. And the story just goes on and on and on, and then he becomes a Christian. And you just start weeping, you just start weeping. So that's the kind of stuff that I want to come to you with at Rochester, because I've got stories to tell. Stuff that'll break your heart, but stuff that'll leave you in tears. Like it leaves me in tears. Sometimes I'm baptizing these adults and I'm just like, in the name of the Father. Like you're just weeping because of the power of God and the gospel. So a lot of this, I'll tell a couple stories here today, but what I'm going to do up there is the presentation is going to be called Signs and Wonders, a Missionary Account from Gotham City. And it's just incredible what God has done. And I want to give to the ladies there, I figure what I'm doing there is doing what Paul did when he would come back from his missionary journeys. And he was like, if you read the book of Acts, and I know you have, and if you haven't for a while, read it through, because he is really honest about the hardships. And like some of the stories in there, like Simon Magus, we're reading this during the Easter season, right? Where you see this guy and he comes to faith, and then it turns out that he wasn't even a real Christian, he was just a greedy guy. And they tell that kind of story. Like it's just a total, Peter basically tells him to go to hell. And it's just this big, massive failure. But at the same time, he's also really honest about what God has done in drawing people to Christ. So I want to give a pretty honest account. Like, let's just be honest. This is hard stuff. And there's opposition to the work that we're doing. But at the same time, we can be honest that God still sends a Spirit. And that the gospel still is powerful. So that's what's going to happen up in Rochester. And just on a personal note, my daughter's going to skip her kindergarten graduation to be at it. And don't feel bad for us. Because I told my wife, I was like, it's kindergarten. But I never had it. Did any of you have a kindergarten graduation? Because I didn't. I still remember. You still remember? Oh, now you're gonna make me feel bad. You're gonna make me mad. Well, my daughter's not gonna remember it. But
Don't remember something better.
the reason why that I want my daughters to be there, we worship with maybe some. It's always somewhere between 80 and 100 on a Sunday. So they don't know what it's like to worship with hundreds of people. And I said, we're going. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I can't wait. I can't wait. That's a good enough reason for me to go. We don't get that out here that much, do we? So if you're kind of, who's going for sure? Awesome. Who's on the fence? So we're gonna bring some people off the fence here this morning. Just let's see if we can get you up there to Rochester. So I wanted to start. That's a little bit of background, a little bit of an introduction. We're gonna start with a quiz, and like I said, there is something on the line with this. Does everybody have a pen? All right. So I'm gonna give you just a few minutes. Don't take too much time. It's two-sided. So go ahead and fill out both quizzes for me. I'm going to give you, I don't know, when I see that most of you are done writing, we're going to be done waiting then. You know what I'm talking about, right? You miss New York now. You're gonna get them all right. Or maybe you're gonna be like, I'm glad I don't live there anymore. Yeah.
I live before Rockaway.
Oh yeah, Queens too yet, all right. Did you have a beach view?
Yeah, yes, Broad Channel,
Yeah.
you know, that piece over there by Ocean Property?
Yeah.
Law and Order, love George.
Yeah, the Broad Channel, yeah. The eighth grade.
So it looks like a couple people are working still. Give you a couple more minutes. About one more minute and we'll get started. And this has got to work on the honesty system, ladies. Can we trust each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would hope so, right? This is an LWMS rally, right? Because there's real sway. There's real prizes here on the line. Oh, yeah. Marine's like, oh, I don't know about this. All right. Okay, are we ready? So, how many boroughs make up New York City? Write down as many as you can. So you got to get, did you not write them down? Those count as points. Do I need to give you a couple more minutes then? Try to write down the 5 boroughs. Write down the 5 boroughs. No, there's swag. Do you want to win or not? I'm a really competitive guy at the end of the day. All right, we're going. So, who wants to give the answer for that one? Go ahead. You want to take it?
Wrong. 5. Yes.
Oh, you're doing it.
Somebody said 5.
5 is correct, so there's 5 boroughs. Good. Everybody got that one? Pretty much? All right, 5 boroughs, right. Okay. You know, people, you are really close.
You said something Island?
She got 4, right? Bronx is 1. Queens, yeah, but one of them's not a real borough. It's not. So Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and Staten Island. A lot of people take a famous neighborhood and make it into a borough. So Harlem is not.
Jamaica, Woodside is Jamaica, New York.
Woodside is neighboring Jamaica. Yeah.
It's not
So you're
considered
part of
upstate?
What's that?
Woodside is considered upstate New York.
No, Woodside's in Queens.
In Queens, okay.
Yeah. Mhm. Everybody got it? So who's 100% so far? Oh my.
But we all got 5.
All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. Number 2. What does the sign "curb your dog" mean? How many of you have seen that in New York City? That's so funny. It's everywhere. So is it A, pick up after your dog, B, stop him from barking, or C, make sure, this is so funny, make sure he lifts his leg only on the curb and fire hydrant? It is actually C. Yeah,
I said B, so I knew I was wrong.
it is C.
We do it different in Northern Virginia.
How many of you really want a dog peeing on your lawn? Yeah, you don't really want that, do you? So it means take them to the curb.
Well, this is for city
I
dogs.
know, for
This is for
real.
city dogs.
Yeah, this is for city dogs, right? We don't, we, so,
They were sent to court.
I actually had to ask someone, like, what does that mean, curb your dog? Curb his bad barking habits or something. Number 3, this is a personal question, but I was really asking, what did we do? What did the Mormons do? I got in trouble for this one, actually. How do you get to the hospital when you're in labor? A, taxi, B, subway, or C, walk. You ladies are going to be mad at me, but it wasn't, this was Amanda's choice. We took the subway. Yeah, we took the subway.
You got lucky. You want a chance of maybe going on the subway?
Yeah. So
Cab driver.
one time I did a rally. This is a long time ago, and I told him that, and a lady took me aside, and she was like, "Let me give you a couple bucks for the taxi next time." But I mean, it was kind of funny though, because we were taking the train up there, and she's in labor and holding onto the pole, and she would just kind of go. Yep. And one of the interesting things is taxis don't want to pick up pregnant ladies, especially really pregnant ones, because they don't want to have anything to do with that. So, all right. Number 4. Which favorite department store cannot be found within the boroughs? Target, Macy's, or Walmart? Walmart, that's right, it's Walmart. Yeah. Walmart. New York or New York City does not have a single Walmart. Number 5. How much did the Bormans spend on parking tickets and towing the first year they lived in New York City? $3,000? $700 or $100?
3,000.
I'm glad it wasn't that. It was $700. $700. It's really hard on your marriage, actually. Like I would go home and be like, I got another parking ticket, and sometimes she'd let me have it. What were you thinking? And one time I was meeting with someone and I parked, and I came out and I was like, my car's gone. I was like, somebody stole it. But I had actually parked in a no parking zone, and they took it. So you know what you have to do when your car gets towed?
In DC,
Anybody
yes.
know?
In New York, no.
It's kind of like that, yeah, it's kind of like that. So they take it to what they call, this is actually kind of cool. They take it to the Redemption Center. Yeah. So they take it to the Redemption, and they have this trailer sitting there with all these cars that got towed that day. And you have to redeem your car. So you have to pay for the tow and the ticket, which is usually over $300. And so I took a selfie of myself next to the Redemption Center. Yeah. So there's gospel everywhere, right? Yeah. There's no clergy discount. They do not care. But I was meeting with a nice old lady. No, they don't care. Number 1. So let's go to the back side. How many people live in a square mile around your foundation? almost 31,000, almost 13,000, or almost 9,000. It is A, yeah, it's A, 31,000 people. So, yeah, yeah, exactly. So one of the ways, there's actually only two, if you talk to the U.S. Census, there's two kinds of places to live. You either live in an urban area or a rural area. So there's no such thing for them technically as suburbia. It's either urban or rural. And the definition of an urban area is population density. So just curiously, what's the population density here? Does anybody know? I should have looked it up. Yeah, Wilmington. Philadelphia is not that far away. So density, I think they say anything past, I think it's 5,000 or 6,000 people per square mile would be considered urban. And New York in particular the density is incredible. I don't think people realize this, but New York's not that big of a place. Like, I can run from where I live and go to Times Square. Like, we did a race from our church last year. We did a 5-mile race from Times Square to Sure Foundation Lutheran Church. It was awesome, by the way. And you can do that. It's just not that big. But within that area lives millions and millions of people. We're really packed in there densely. All right, number 2. Where do you park when you come to Sure Foundation? Maybe, yeah.
I thought you had a storefront. Your church is not the storefront.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. So we are on Roosevelt Avenue underneath the 7 train. We do not have a parking lot. So you can park at the meters. You park at the meters. And New York City, there's one day a week where you don't have to plug the meters.
Sunday.
Yeah. So it's free on Sundays. You don't actually have to pay to park at church on Sunday. Every other day of the week you do. So there you go. People sometimes worry about that, like, where am I going to park? And it's just like Seinfeld said. You do concentric circles and you make them larger and larger until you find something. So, and then number 3, the Borman family has been on national television 3 times, 2 times, or 1 time.
3 times.
Twice. Yeah. So once, this is a little known fact about us. This is kind of fun though. We used to own a little condo in North Carolina. So we got on a TV show for HGTV. Who likes HG? You might have seen us on there then. So we were on a program called Island Life. So every once in a while, people don't know like that we were on the show. Every once in a while I'll get a text and be like, "We're watching you on TV right now." So if you look us up, it was actually, you know how long it takes to film one of those things? 3 days. Yeah. 3 long days of filming and multiple takes and stuff like that. But I don't know. It was quite an experience, and what's really fun is to go back and watch it and with the girls and stuff and be like, "Hey, there we are in HGTV." And then the other time was we were on 2020 on ABC, and I'm not going to tell you why. You can Google my name if you want. And I was involved in an event that made national news. And then we were on the program in 2020. And I was on Anderson Cooper, too, for that particular event. Yeah. So, that was an interesting year, twice.
I'm with you, Pastor. That's the 3rd time then, if Anderson Cooper.
Oh, my goodness. You might be right.
I'm competitive too.
I guess it was 3 times, yeah. All right.
No.
So, here's what we're gonna do. You gotta count up every question that you got right. And if we have to, we're gonna go to the extra credit.
So what if we only got 4 of the 5 boroughs correct?
So on number 1, that counts as 6 points. We're gonna do it that way,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Mhm. So I guess the most you could have got 3, 8. You could have gotten 14 points, it looks like. Did anybody get it all right, 14? Let's go to 10. Anybody get 10? Got a couple people?
13, isn't it 13 points?
We need 3 winners, by the way, so let's go a little bit lower. 8, anybody get 8? So we get a few more, so 9, we need 3.
At what point will you add the extra credit? Answer.
Oh, for a tie, it's a tiebreaker, yeah. We might have a tie, so 9, above 9, who's got above 9? 1, so too many still. 10, above 10? Oh, Pastor Huffman's gonna take it home. How many did you get?
11.
11. Did anybody beat him?
No, wait, let's see.
All right.
You count.
So he comes in first.
6.
Who got 10? So now we have a tiebreaker.
Linda?
I only got 3 prizes. So we're going to go to the tiebreaker. Okay? This is extra credit. So you got to write this down. The old telephone booth outside of Sure Foundation was used most often for what purpose? Just write it. Don't say it out loud because we got a tie here. I don't know if nobody gets it right or all of you get it right, then we're in trouble. So, who wants to try? Who's going to give it a try?
I wrote confessional.
This is a little gross, by the way, what it was used for.
You have to say it for the online people.
Can we say it online?
Sure.
People aren't going to get upset. It was used for a bathroom. Did any of the tie-breaking people get that right?
No.
Oh, what are we going to do then?
I had one of the prizes then.
So I have Vickers sometimes, and there was this one time where we were sitting in our what we call our fellowship area, and we were like, oh, the guy's using the phone. He wasn't using the phone.
That phone has not been connected for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. So we got some prizes here. So Roger, this is Pastor Huffman. This is what you're gonna get.
Actually, my
This
wife
is-
also had 11.
What's that?
Karen had 11 too.
Oh. Well, you guys are gonna have to fight it out then.
Of course, I'll defer to my wife.
Okay, so Karen's got it. This was a really exciting week for me actually because after the thing happened, which we're not talking about that you can Google. I was in a doctoral program and I needed some doctoral work to do, and I decided to focus it in on trauma and the gospel. And so this last week, NPH hustled out this new book because they knew I was coming here, and they were like, see if you can get anyone to buy it. So this is $13.99, but it's going to be a prize that's going to go to Karen.
And if we bring it to Rochester, will you sign it? Will you autograph it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I got 15 copies. This is really shameless, and I apologize. But if you're interested in it, they're going to be in the back. They're $13.99. I'm not going to give you change, though. Sorry. This is for Karen then. And then I have coffee mugs, and I don't know who to give these to. These are Sure Foundation coffee mugs. But I'm gonna give it to the ladies. Sorry. So who are the
Stephanie and Linda.
All right. So we're gonna do more theory this morning, theology. And I want to talk to you, how long do I have? You guys need to stand up and stretch a little bit?
Maureen, how much does
How are we doing?
Well, you got a half hour, 35 minutes.
Does anybody need to stand up and stretch a little bit? Because this next part, I'm gonna go for like 40 minutes straight here. And this is the heavy stuff next. A couple minutes, and if you want to refresh your coffee, and maybe come back in like, let's say 10:40, and then,
That would be fine. Got
Okay.
5-minute break. What do you got today? Are they flowers?
You guys are rough, right?
No.
You're rough down.
So who's this? Not having a conversation today. Oh, I'm not sure. No, they go to work. So this is TJ and his son's Simeon. Nice to meet you. And next Jenny is the wife, but she's
Somewhere.
Simeon's
We'll see how much lasts.
It's not, but he's got good
Just turned
toys.
3.
just turned 3.
Good toys, right? Are you gonna see me tomorrow? Maybe.
I should keep you over here so you don't see all.
Stretch his legs.
He
Let him
doesn't
run
need to
while
look at all the stuff back there.
All the
Because otherwise he will be back there.
Yes.
I would say get the wiggles out.
Yes, where are the electronics?
Could be that one.
I'll take you up on that.
Your line went down dark than the irrigation.
Little people can't find it as easy as big people, or maybe they can. That is your superpower, is finding them. Everybody needs a superpower.
That one.
I have a superpower, is my pastor doesn't agree with it. You can stay here. What are you looking for? What time did you wake up today? 5:40. Wait, 5:40. Just leave it on time. No problem. We can just drive faster.
Your turn. I just wanted to say, I happen to have a lot of fun meetings.
Oh.
Today we were.
Okay, cool.
Wally World and they need to change it, they gave it to me in 5s. I went, okay. They usually give it to me in 20s, but the last 2 Walmarts said 5s and 10s, so my 10s are gone, but I do have a lot of 5s and 10s.
Hello. Oh, he's back.
Anyway, he's the one
He's back.
I don't have to change that.
Well, of course, it's the interesting stuff is the way.
I always thought
I
that.
need to
I always thought my whole life I was by.
You're always fun. If he could.
Unless it was over on
And actually, from Nebraska.
you may have seen the reflection of the glass in the cabinets.
My wife's from.
Look who's here.
Hey, Cillian.
I'm busy.
A few years from now, I ask him, how many years have you been coming? He'll be man in charge.
That's for sure. 12. I was really impressed that I wasn't, because my guest goes to.
No kid, well, I did too.
You actually are from.
Totally forgot that night. I was embarrassed, because that's the way I usually go out on Long Island.
Yeah, but you know, not something to think about every single day, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. I did this. Oh, about when you're labored in the hospital.
Oh, yeah. That's what I walked with. I know my parents would have said, I broke my leg, my mother put me in the wagon and walked me down the hospital.
I'm like, well, that wasn't what it said.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit.
Through a small but I never would have guessed that.
Oh, that's right.
You're gonna have a big deal.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was, South.
Yeah, do you need, I printed off the ballot, so you can read what we voted on, what you failed. Would you like that now? Okay, I'll see.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have let go.
And we're all gonna be.
Well, it's fine.
Should I?
Yes.
Right beside you.
Yeah, there's,
Yes. So it's routine? Okay. We, so RHE/NTID is
this is a little something for me to say thank you for everything you've done. They all do wonderful. You got yours right there.
Yes, I did. True. Big facts. God bless her, the surgeon, so what I need to do.
I think it's like, sorry. I said that. Do you want me to say that?
There's a plan to, sit down with lunch. That'd be great.
Oh, you did? Walmart. My neighbor and Walmart.
Oh, there you go.
Must be the Air Force. But even as a kid, when I graduated from high school, first vacation,
So should we get started again?
Yes, I'll ring your bell.
Is there a real bell, or is it metaphorical? There's a real bell? Oh yeah, do the bell then. Oh yeah. Mm-mm. I wasn't here, I guess. It's like NBC or something like that. 3 bells from NBC. Ding, ding, ding.
And you were up in there, like some French king of Prussia. We call it king. The secretary. Oh, I got my
Long 5 minutes. You give them 5, they take 10.
Yeah, I do the same thing though. But you sometimes if you just start talking, should I just start talking? People will come in.
Start talking.
People will come in. So I'm gonna use the rest of my time. I think I have till the schedule has me till 11:15. Is that right?
Right.
11:15. Okay, I'm gonna shoot for 11:15. This is the first part of the presentation was I wanted to be kind of whimsical and fun and just talk a little bit about New York and introduce you to it. This part of the presentation is going to be more hard-hitting, theoretical, philosophical, theological, about why we need to do mission in urban settings, in cities. So it's called The Call to the City. Now, I'm going to assume that at your churches like mine, you're reading in the Easter season from the book of Revelation, right? And so in 2 weeks, there's going to be a lesson from Revelation chapter 7, where it's just this glorious scene. And heaven is full. That's what it makes me think of. Heaven is really full. It's so full that John says that you actually can't count it, how many people are there. That's what it says. And I was trying to picture that scene, the countless multitude, and to help you to visualize that. I was listening to a podcast about billionaires. Everybody's all upset because Elon Musk can buy Twitter these days. And somebody helped to visualize what it would mean to have that much money. And somebody said, it would be someone working for Amazon at $40,000 a year since prehistoric times, if we're going to believe in evolution. Which we don't, right? But that's a really long time, and that's a lot of money, the billions of dollars that he has. And I suppose that you could say that you can count that. You see what I'm trying to get at? But heaven is so full in John's vision that you can't count it. And that's the first thing that he says that he sees in Revelation chapter 7. The second thing that he sees is that heaven is diverse. It's full and it's diverse. And he says every language, tribe, nation under heaven, they're all there. So heaven is multicolored, it's multilingual, it's full. And it's just this beautiful vision of what's waiting for us. It's also awesome. At the end of that vision, it's better than what you can possibly imagine. So he describes it by negation. God's there, and that's awesome. And then it's so transcendent that he can only describe it by negation. You won't be hungry. I guess there's going to be a great feast there. You're no more tears. He says stuff like that. So heaven's full, it's diverse, and it's awesome. But then the response, John's response to it all, do you remember what he said? What happens? An elder comes up to him, and do you remember the questions? It's a really good question, and that's why I want to start with you this morning. Who are these? Yeah, you remember. Who are these people? And what's the second question? Not yet. What's the second? He asked two questions of John. Where do they come from? Where do they come from? And then John, he doesn't know. He says, "Sir, you know," which is a really pious way of saying, I don't know. I don't know who these people are, and I don't know where they come from. It's actually the same words that come out of his mouth are the same words that Ezekiel said when he's looking at that giant pile of bones. Do you remember that vision too? And he's looking, and he's in total despair, and then the question is posed, can they live? And Ezekiel's like, I don't know. Which means he actually doesn't know, and he's a little bit hopeless about it. Which is a strange response. John's response when he says, "Sir, you know," it's a very strange and muddled response. When we look at Revelation chapter 7, our hearts are just so full. This is awesome. I actually we love Revelation chapter 7 and seeing that scene. My wife and I like it so much that I can't even get my ring off. That's how in bondage I am to her. But on the inside of my ring, we have engraved Revelation chapter 7 because that's where we're going together. Like we're going to get there by God's grace and mercy. And so we love this. We love this. But John, he's troubled. Like he doesn't know, he can't give an adequate answer to who these people are and where they come from. He's ignorant, you could say. Like that's, and that's a painful ignorance. It's very painful. Like it's the ignorance of a parent who loses their daughter in the middle of a giant mall for like a minute. Maybe you can remember that happening. And there's like, whoa, does the anxiety levels like skyrocket? That's the pain of ignorance. It's also the pain of ignorance. Like, have you ever been to a funeral before where you go in there and there's no Christian symbolism whatsoever, but all you see is roses in the colors and symbols of the New York Yankees? Have you seen stuff like this before? Oh, come on, you've been to a funeral like that. Or like NASCAR or something like that.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like
Yes.
you can see what the most important thing that person is.
Yes.
And you're standing there with a family member and there's pain in their hearts. You know what I'm talking about? Where they were baptized Christian, but and they knew everything about the local slugger, but they couldn't barely tell you the first thing about Jesus, and then you go to the funeral and there's the pain of ignorance that happens. And that's John. I really think that's John. He's like, sir, you know, and he just couldn't give the answer. Who are these people and where do they come from? And I guess one of the things that I want to do this morning is, John comes out of that ignorance, by the way. Who are these? Well, these are the folks that wash their robes in the blood of the Lamb. What I want to lean into is that second question is, where do they come from? And the reason why is we have, as Christians, a real love-hate relationship with cities. Do you think that's true? Like biblically, can we do this for a second? Can we trace biblically the people of God's relationship with cities in the Bible? Just give me a shout out of a... Babel. Not a very good reputation, right? What else? Sodom and Gomorrah, right.
Haran.
Which one?
Haran. H-A-R-A.
Oh, yeah, where Abram comes from. They were idolaters, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, I missed the question,
Nineveh.
sorry.
Nineveh, yeah, Nineveh. Like, they don't have a good reputation, do they?
Jerusalem's okay, you can say that.
Jerusalem's love-hate, though.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus wept over them. They're the ones who are described and characterized as people who murder the prophets. Like, so cities in the Bible have, you know, we need to be there, but we don't want to be there. Can we just be honest about that for a second? And in the Wells, historically, we're no different with how we view cities. And I'm just going to give one example of this, and I hope that I don't step on anybody's toes, because the people that I'm going to be talking about are long dead. But we used to have our seminary in Wauwatosa. Does anyone know why we moved it to Mequon? Wauwatosa, by the way, is much closer to Milwaukee. We have a couple people from Milwaukee here this morning.
to be near the Jewish people in Mequon?
That, yeah, you would think. But the honest to goodness truth is the city was going to have a negative influence on our seminarians. That's true. Roger, you're the historian, right? It's absolutely true. Yeah.
I was assumed it was space.
That I'm sure that was part of it, but that part of the thinking was like we don't necessarily want to have those influences on our kids, on our future pastors, and things like that. And what's interesting that's happening today is this conversation has continued for hundreds of and thousands of years, really. But I actually, in the 2000s and 2010s, I think the conversation was changing a little bit, but then the pandemic happened, and now the coverage is all negative again. Isn't that true? It's like everybody freaked out, and they were like, New York's a terrible place. And it's not just New York, is it? Crime is up, and these are the things that we hear about, and we're worried about curriculums, and we don't want to push that stuff into our kids' hearts. And I have stories about those things, which I'm not going to share because I don't want to share in the negativity. But what I'm saying is when we start to ask that question that John was asking of this countless, awesome, diverse place that heaven's going to be, would you say that New Yorkers are going to be there? Where do they come from? Rural Delaware, right? Or that's everything. And what I want to help you do, at least in a small way, is to answer the question in this way, that they do come from New York City. And not just from New York City. They come from a place called Newark, Delaware. And where are y'all from anyway? Like, from a lot of different places. Washington, D.C., all the way to North Carolina. Nebraska, right? Yeah. Tennessee, oh wow. Texas, yeah. So, like, no matter where you are, and I'm in New York City, to be able to say, where do they come from? And then not to say, sir, you know. You like to put up your hand, well, I know where they come from. They come washed in the blood of Christ from all over the place, including cities. Like, we got more than 10 in New York City. I can promise you that. Like, we're not going down like Sodom and Gomorrah did.
More than 10 believers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're like, more than 10. Yeah, I'm doing biblical references, hoping if you're not going to Bible class, you got to go to Bible class. So that's what I want to talk to you about here this morning, is help you to answer that question, where do they come from? And now we're going to get to why I think a city is a good place, not the only place. I don't want to go too far and be like, there's people like Tim Keller and be like, what you got to do is close all your churches in rural America and only open churches in the city, because that's how you're really going to reach people. And that's going way too far, isn't it? But what I do want to argue for is why the city is also a good place. It's not the only place, but it's also a good place to be able to answer the question, where do they come from? Well, they come from my city too. So let's put that up there. There's 3 parts to this little. I'm a little too tall for this microphone.
It's picking you up just fine.
Is it? Okay. Let's go to the opportunity. So if you could advance the slide, we'll do that. I put her to sleep. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you're in town. So we want to first look at like the opportunities to impact people that the city provides, maybe in a unique way. And the first way that I want to look at, if you could zoom in one more time, click that slide again, is I got a few different arguments for why the city's a good place to do mission. And the first one's in a numbers argument. This is a little slide about where the population of the world is moving. And this is an interesting statistic. Everybody thought, I don't know if this is true of your city, but of my city, everybody was saying the cities are emptying out. That's totally false.
It is false.
It's totally false. New York City actually grew, anybody know, according to the last statistic?
2020 census.
Yeah, the 2020 census. We grew by 700,000 people. 700,000. So to put that in perspective, that's more than some states came into our city in the last decade. That's huge numbers. And it is totally false to say that the cities are emptying out. It is just a lie. Rents are skyrocketing. Like, it's just as, I promise you, the city's just as full and traffic is worse than ever. So, yeah. Yeah, it's just the cities are not emptying out. The opposite is true, that cities continue to grow. across our country and across the world. It's not just in our country, but across the world. And urbanization is a real phenomenon, especially over the last 100 years. It used to be that my grandpa was a farmer, but if you talk to farmers, they'll tell you that even farms are being bought up by big corporations and stuff, and so less and less and less is farming a lifestyle. So what do? Well, eventually you're gonna end up in one of our cities, or at least near one, or have to commute there now, 2 to 3 days a week or whatever, with the new pandemic norm. But the fact of the matter is, cities are gonna be a thing, they're always gonna be a thing. And so if we wanna be faithful to the mission that Jesus gave us, then we're gonna be there too. So let's go ahead and advance that slide. So the numbers argument, there's also a cultural argument. Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote this book called The Tipping Point, and it's an interesting take. If you've never read him, he writes incredible anecdotes to make a point. That's usually what he does. And in The Tipping Point, he talks about how cultures change, which is an important conversation, like how does culture change? And a lot of people think that if you can get the majority of people thinking the same way, then that's when the culture is going to change. And other people argue that's not right. And what Malcolm Gladwell argues is that what happens is what he calls, and this was before the pandemic, but he talks about epidemiology, where there's a spread that happens. This is so cool to be able to talk about this in a pandemic age, and this was interesting enough, but New York became at least a viral spreader for the rest of y'all for a while. I apologize for that. He talked about a guy in Lower Manhattan who started wearing these shoes I think they called them like hush puppies. I always thought that was a food, but is it also a shoe too? I don't know anything about this. I like the food better. A quick story about Roger, Pastor Huffman, since he's here. We went to conference once, and we went off the beaten path quite a ways. And I'll never forget the hush puppies that we had. You remember that? It was like North Carolina or something like that. If you're from North Carolina, that's a little. But anyway, one of the ways that people are influenced is just by running into each other. And that happens more in cities than really anywhere else, if we're honest about it. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is that I always have this question in my heart, well, what if that was happening with the gospel in our big cities? What kind of networking? And if we could get better at sharing the gospel than we are at sharing coronavirus, how much impact could we have? And epidemiology could graph it if we could think about it in those ways. So I think there's that's a reason to be in there, just for cultural things. If you could advance the slide one more. You also can reach people who are influential in terms of media and in terms of what these New York elites, you might think of them that way. They decide what's going to be up on your TV screen, what's going to show up on Broadway and things like that. And what happens when we reach those people with the gospel and the impact that we have. And the reason why I have that graphic up there is just to remind me to tell you about a man named Mark, he's one of those guys. You would never notice it from when you meet him, and he's been coming to our church for a long time now. But he actually wrote the music for this musical, You're in Town, and he won a Tony for it. Yeah, and he's going to play piano for us tomorrow. And it's a funny story. The first time he came to church, we had the conversation, what do you do? And he was like, well, I write musicals for Broadway. Oh. And I said, well, what's your most famous one? And he goes, well, you're in town. So I went home, and see, you gotta blank that out for a second. And I thought what he said was, Y-O-U-R apostrophe R-E, are you with me?
Yes.
You're in town. So I Googled it, and I was like, there's no musical. So I saw him again, and I was like, what was that musical again? He's like, you're in town. Oh! So, anyway, just a little funny story. But he was on the Tony committee for the people who like vote to decide who's going to win the Tonys, and he's rubbing shoulders with all these different people with his faith and his heart, and I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We had another guy. His name was Jim Price. He's with the Lord now, and he came to us, and he was just this fantastic marimba player. Have you ever seen marimba? Like, he was world class, and he got in with a guy who was a Grammy winner and who actually started a whole new genre of music called minimalism. Have you ever heard of this? It's very strange. You can look it up. And so he actually pioneered this music called minimalism, and he worked with a man named Steve Reich, very famous composer, actually. Anyway, when he died, we packed the church in, and it was the day after the Grammys. So they all flew out from Los Angeles, and a bunch of them ended up in our church the next day. Yeah, it was actually really cool. And I can tell you this, like, I'll never forget this, actually. When we stood for the gospel reading, I looked around, and not everybody was happy about it. I was like, this is so cool to be able to share what we believe and what Jim Price believed. And I'll always remember him. So this is the kind of thing I think that being in cities is going to give us the opportunities to do. How about we advance the slide again? Yeah, in cities too, and this is increasingly true of the rest of our country too, but especially in cities, you're going to be able to reach that diverse group that John talked about. Well, where do they come from? Well, they're going to come from the diverse group that we're going to see in heaven is going to come from cities. And that is our little neighborhood there. I don't know if it's true, but it's true for me at least, that I actually do believe it's the most diverse spot in the whole world. And you'd have to work really hard to try to prove otherwise. It's like Woodside, New York, that area is like the Galapagos Islands of humanity. We have people from everywhere, and I've gotten real comfortable with this. I'm a minority there. I don't care. I mean, but everybody is there, which is really cool. I love working there. In fact, when I see white people walking down the street, I assume that they're either WELS or Mormons.
Oh.
Yeah, Mormons more often. But it's a really great place to work at, and I love the fact that my daughters are growing up there. I do even in different languages. I speak in English and Spanish. Maybe my ministry is mostly in Spanish. I'm not sure. The congregation is about half English speaking and half Spanish speaking, and even the English group is very, very diverse. It's very diverse. So if you'd walk in there, you'd see people from Asia and South America and from the U.S. and just just kind of everywhere. So diversity is a real big component. How about, can we advance the slide again? I'm running out of time. All right, go. So we're going to look at the challenges. It's not always easy. Go ahead and advance the slide again. One more time. I'm just going to talk about a couple things about what makes ministry there challenging. Could you click on that for me? This is what I call, I'm going to let you listen to this for a second. I hope it's loud enough. This is
I want to play this for you different than you ever heard before.
So did you hear the Frank Sinatra rule? If you can make it here, if you can make it anywhere. And that's I don't know if, that's a New Yorker saying that. And we tend to be really arrogant people when it comes to, like, we think that the whole world revolves around that. Someone actually told me this, that you know why people in the Midwest start work at 8 a.m.? I think this actually might be true. Because New Yorkers start at 9 a.m. I don't know if that's true or not. Where was I going with this? Oh, Frank Sinatra at least is recognizing that it's not easy. It's not easy. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And it's just not. I've seen young people, it's typically young people that'll come out. They make up maybe 25% of our congregation. The rest are locals. But where they'll come out with dreams in their heads, and then I see New York City spit them out. They can't make it. They don't make it to the top of the world, like whether it's on Wall Street or acting or singing, jazz, like any of those. If you want to get to the top of your craft in many, many ways, you gotta be, unless you're a politician, then you'd be in DC, or unless you're gonna be an actor or an actress, you're either in New York or LA, like you gotta come to New York to make it to the top. And I've seen people with dreams in their heads and they just get spit right back out. And I can tell you it's not an easy place. Why don't we advance the slide again? Oh, you know what? Skip that one. Let's keep going because I'm running out of time. This is just an example of one aspect of life. You laugh about it, but this actually becomes a big deal in daily life where when I go to church in the morning, if I drive, I might have to search for a parking spot for 30 minutes. And if I don't find one, then what I have to do is I have to go where there's street sweeping later in the day. You know what that is? So like they'll come through with one of those trucks with the brooms on them, and you have to move your car for that. So what I do, this is a little New York trick. You go to where they have to do street sweeping at like 11, okay? So then You park there for about an hour and a half, and then you move your car to where they just ended street sweeping at 10:30. See? It's really good. But all of that takes time. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah.
Or have somebody move it over.
Yeah, you get someone to move it for you.
Right, from one side to the other.
But this is actually a real struggle. And that's just one thing that's harder. Let's keep going. That's a pretty cool park job, though, isn't it? That's really good. I can do that. I have no problem parallel parking. And you get parking tickets. That's my dog, Cooper, and that's what we think of parking tickets in our family. He's gone now. We miss him. Go ahead and advance the slide. But there's also tremendous joys. Like sometimes people will ask me, like, do you like living in New York City? And to me, that's a crazy question. How could you, that's kind of like asking someone, do you like your wife? Like, right? It's my home. Why? I don't think about it that way. It's home. It is what it is. And it is hard. But why would I go anywhere else? It's where God put me. It's where he called me. And so I'm sticking it out. And just the opportunities and the joys are just as tremendous as the lows, because there are lows. And like preaching on it, this just happened actually one Easter. I don't even know how it happened. I think somebody put Happy Easter up there in English, and then you can see what happened. People just started writing in their own languages. This is at our church. And then at the end of the day, I was like, whoa. That was one Easter Sunday. Isn't that cool? And for a while, we actually had a map where you could put pins in it from where you're from, all over the world. All over the world. Really cool place. So let's keep going. How cool is that, though? Where do they come from? Like, they come from all over the place. And I guess I just want to encourage you. Like, sometimes I think we can get discouraged in our churches and be like, we're not effective anymore. We're not reaching people. And I can tell you that's not true in New York City. A lot of like when I got there was a lot of discouragement, and we just went to work. And I'm never bored. And I'm never wondering, who should I start my next class with? There's too many. That's the honest goodness truth. I don't have enough time. There's so many people wanting to come in that I struggle with how to use my time. That's the honest goodness truth. So keep us in your prayers. Thank you for being with us here today. Join me in Rochester. I'm going to tell some stories that, I'll probably be crying up there, just thanking God and the Holy Spirit for doing that and using me that way. And yeah.
Do we want to see? I could do 3 minutes of questions if anyone.
Sure. Yeah. I thought there'd be 10 to 15 minutes, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And
If anyone has a question, just raise your hand and Pastor Borman can answer it. Minister.
Do you still do the in the park thing, where you gather people in the park and have arts and things?
yeah, so she asked, do we still do the in the park thing? Yes, we just did it the Saturday before Easter. So we go to our local park. It's a block away, and we have a craft, a little game. We tell people about Jesus. If you go to our Facebook site, you can see the pictures, and we just get swarmed by kids. Yeah, we do that. It's wonderful.
At what point did you call yourself a New Yorker? You've done at least once, maybe twice, during your presentation. You identify as a New Yorker, despite the Gustav Haar stories from your youth. So just curious, when did you get it?
I think I tried like early on. Like I'm going to talk about this up in Rochester, but a lot of people thought I wouldn't make it because of some of the stuff that happened to me. But this is a strange family history, but my mom's from New York. Yeah, and my grandpa lived in New York City. So I'm one of the few Wells people that we always went on vacation to New York every year because my mom's from the state. It's a strange thing. So I already had that, like at my call day, my grandpa was there. He's with the Lord now. And I was like, Grandpa, I'm going home. And he was a Mets fan. I'm a Mets fan. So there was that. But also I think it became mine, not just from family history, but also from just living there. I don't know when it happened exactly. I don't know. It's a really good question. Yeah. I just couldn't imagine going somewhere else now. Someone said, you're broken now. Maybe.
Do you expect your congregation will call another pastor?
Oh, I wish, but honest to goodness, I don't think so. I'm always trying to look at ways that we could keep going. Like we actually have like 4 families that live on 42nd Street. Like it's a weird thing that happened. But we have 42nd and 11th, we have a whole bunch of Welsh people. So when you go there, you'd be like, oh. And so like I actually started a conversation, like how could we grow this group? But in my mind, I'm like, to buy a space or rent a space there and then to bring a pastor and then put him there, the costs are just astronomical.
I meant to grow where you're at in Woodside, to call another pastor.
Oh, I'd love to do that too. And like, we are working on a space issue right now. We've been working on that for years. Actually, this last week we had a call with our architect again. We're trying to figure out, but New York building code is, like, that's the first thing we have to address, is how we can modify our space somehow. And it's the cost always. It's always the cost. It's never been about whether there's work. There's work.
Do you ever get any converted Mormons?
No, I've never had that happen. I wish. Jehovah's Witnesses, yes, but Mormons, no. The Mormons are an interesting thing. They will send their kids to like our art camp, and it's always, I actually don't think it's a great thing because they're trying to show their kids that they're just like us. They don't think of themselves as different than us. And so it's a really hard conversation to have and be like, you're going to hell, you know, so we haven't broken into that space yet, that's for sure.
Could you mention your podcast?
I do a podcast. I have a twin. I guess I didn't mention that. Did you know I have a twin? He looks exactly like me. And we do a podcast called The Notable Podcast, not because it's notable. Sometime we have to change the name. The whole idea was because, like, you would make notes in the margins of your Bible. See? So it's notable. So it's called The Notable Podcast. It's on all the major platforms. And we just really just work through the Bible and just talk about it. And so if you're interested in that, if you Google it, that we have a website and stuff, you'd be welcome to. I think our last season was on Ecclesiastes. It was a fantastic opportunity to do that. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. That was awesome, and I hope some of you will consider going to the Rochester International Convention too. So that was great. We'll just take a 5-minute break to set up the table and get ready for our business meeting. So if you need to stretch your legs, now would be the time to do that. Thank you.
Wait, picture.
Kyle, and then what we'll do is after the business meeting, we'll quick take one before everybody goes to lunch up there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I just want to get everyone.
Sitting in the sanctuary.
Okay, you guys are good.
Don't suspect that there's Rochester, but John has a restriction. So if you're interested, she would like to give it to some. Yeah. Don't anybody else. But then once we get there, right.
You know, maybe it's actually, it starts on Thursday night and on Sunday morning. You can just do the 2 days, Friday and Saturday. If you want to, they can just extend way depending on, because she will give the money down, but she would like somebody to go. I've never been there, but we're there till 7. Well, then we've already got 2, so my sister to give us. Oh, right. Which is great, because but anyway, just in case you get a chance.
That's Joan right there. Joan, raise your hand. It's hard to do this. Sounds like you could use more money, but either of you. Now, Jessica, you met Caitlin, yeah? Yes. Good. I just assumed, I don't know.
It was Maureen.
Oh my God. And you've got a roommate, so you've got the people up in New York that you're back with, and you are with Karen. Very good.
She'll be for this. Yes.
I know. Oh, it was on the well stuff, it was, just some of the, the witnessing that he did. Are you gone? Oh, no. So good to see you, lady. Yeah, you too. No, I haven't seen that. Which makes me laugh. And she said, why are you Yes, I will. Is a terminal or? He has a back problem and that's surgery. Is he out of his misery with Yes, I understand. My mother had it. His legs are so strong that he can stand up. I think he can do it. Right. But that won't be too unless he gets a PT. And now it's started. But if he doesn't do that, he'll be in misery later. Say his name. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh. So you give it to him? Oh, excellent. So I mean, oh, I see. Okay. And then you said, and I'm going to take the next.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd like to call the business meeting to order. It's 11:33 a.m. In your folder, everyone have a folder, else I got extras up here. You will find our agenda. So on the back is what we will be doing, the business meeting agenda. So everyone is there. And first, I'd like to introduce Allie Bradley, and she will do the secretary report and the minutes from the last meeting, that the last rally we had. And she'll kind of take a roll call, and you'll be speaking up here if you can.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Alex. Hi. Glad everybody could come. It's so great to see the people that have shown up and took interest in this rally in person. Okay, I think first what I'm going to do is do a quick roll call. We have Pastor Huffman, Karen Huffman, Jenny Kelly, TJ Kelly, Joan Ritter. Is Beth? No, Beth is online, I believe. And these are people that came in from Peace, from King of Prussia, PA. And then, okay, from St. John's, we've got Penny, I don't need to tell y'all's last name or not.
No.
Okay.
No.
Delicia? Melcina?
No, Cynthia just left, no.
Oh, she did?
No.
But she was here.
Yeah, she was here, okay. Anna? Do we have a Linda Henson here? No. June Holler? Okay. Ellen Robinson? No, she's not here.
Could you mention there's a,
Yeah, there's actually a makeshift gift card, get well card out there for Ellen for you guys to sign. She's in the hospital. So if y'all wouldn't mind during lunch or whatever, sign the card. And, okay, we have Caroline, Karen, Tina,
Yeah, she's
okay. And of course Deb is here, she's busy. Stephanie Burke, okay. And that was all the people from St. John's. Shepherd of the Bay, we've got Elaine and Judy. Excellent. Let me see. And then we have Erica from Trinity. Cool. I know I'm doing this backwards, but what the heck. Okay, from Atonement, we've got Jessica. And from Bethlehem, we've got Patty Chewing, Stephanie, Lynette. And from Christ, we have Allie Bradley, Jill and Audrey are here. They're from Christ. And then we have Grace, Charlotte, North Carolina, Linda. Yes. And then Grace from Falls Church, we have Kay, Caitlin, Huntersville, we have Maureen. And Our Savior, we have Cynthia and Dwight. Okay. And we also have others, or of course our speakers, Tim Borman and Tim Walsh. We have our photographers and Rudy, Jerry, and Mike, and Kyler. So that's who we've got that's attended today. Now for the minutes of, I just want to give you a brief overlook from last fall's rally. We had it was actually done, We Are Fearful and Wonderful Made. It was a theme that was done and hosted at Trinity in Woodbridge. And it was based on Psalm 139:14. We had approximately 67 attendees, which 53 of them were in person. We had 14 that were virtual. The good thing about this whole thing is that we had 11 first-time attendees, rally attendees, which was excellent. Then we just had the special ministries. We had speakers that talked about mission for virtual impaired and mission for deaf and hard of hearing. Kim Tyler gave that presentation. Then we had John Stedman who spoke about the military services and the chaplain certification. He also shared information on the Lutheran military support group. Lynette and Pastor Gardner spoke about mental health programs dealing with pornography and abuse, as well as care for called workers, parish nursing, and prison ministry. Also during the meeting, during the rally, we went over our bylaws, and Vice President Maureen and Bylaws Committee Chairman Susan Hoffensberger both presented 7 proposed amendments, which 4 of the articles of the Heritage Bylaws were adopted. We gave a farewell to the LWMS reporters, Joan Rittler from Peace, Kelly Olson from Living Hope, and Sue Norberg from Trinity. And we also thanked them for their dedication that they gave us and for LWMS work that they had done. Currently, right now, we want to welcome a new congregation member, our Redeemer from Yorktown, Virginia, and their reporters, Ann Hassler Henson and Monica Muller. We also want to report our welcome to Jocelyn Pruitt of Our Savior, Blue Ridge, Virginia. At present, the Heritage Circuit, we have increased, and we are now up to 18 congregations, member congregations, with 2 individual members. We also have our non-member congregations. We stand at 3 with 2 missions, which is Hunterville from North Carolina and The Way, which is in Virginia. And I don't think I have anything else to announce.
Well, we have to approve the minutes from the rally, so the ladies need to read it briefly and
Oh,
then need a motion. Or
okay.
no, we don't need a motion, but we just have to see if there are any corrections.
Okay. Actually, have y'all read the minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
they're the purple sheet.
No.
You just went through them, right?
No, the minutes that need to.
The actual
from the
minutes
rally.
from the rally, from the October. I just did a brief recap.
The purple sheet was the spring rally recap, secretarial report. The minutes are on the tan page. And so if you could just, those that attended the rally, if you could just read it and see if there are any corrections. This was the rally held at Suey Norberg's church in October. Jessica, Caitlin, do you see any changes? Or Lynette? All the
I make a
great stuff.
motion that we approve the
Well-
minutes as written.
All right. All right, so the minutes are approved as read then. Okay. All right, anything else then?
No,
Okay,
as read.
perfect.
Unless there's any questions, other questions about. I don't know, I guess you were going to probably ask about first-time attendees?
Yeah, that's maybe.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, and that concludes my report.
Okay, okay, when Next, we'll have Linda Springer from Grace and Charlotte. She's our treasurer, and she'll give you an update on the treasurer's report. And a couple other things.
All right, morning. The treasurer's report is the green sheet in your folder if you'd like to follow along. So this is a statement of our receipts and disbursements since the end of, or since the beginning of November, after all of the accounts were dispersed from the fall rally. And so we have 3 funds: the working fund, the mission fund, and the Send One Sister Fund. At the top, the working fund, we began the beginning of November with a balance of $750.09. According to our circuit's rules, we do not want to have more than $750 in the working fund, and we feel that's sufficient to, to plan the next rally and all the expenses related to it. So we began with $750. As of this past Sunday, all of the, from the receipts that were mailed to me for this rally today, we received $1,100 towards the working fund. So a very, very generous donation was made. So we will have no problem funding our next rally because of that. Also, there's a basket in the back of church for you ladies to make any additional donations to the working fund today, or also if you want the money to go to the mission fund or to the Send One Sister Fund, you'll need to designate that with a note or written on your check or whatever so that I know. Otherwise, if it's not designated, it will go to the working fund, what's collected in the back today. Back to the green sheet, we have made a couple of disbursements from the working fund related to today's rally and actually from before Christmas cards for our BAM families, badge holders, these for today, and then our speakers' fees for our 2 pastors today and outgoing officer gifts. So actually the only 2 expenses that have cleared so far are the $33.83 and the $13.99. So technically, as of today, we have $1,802.27 in our working fund. There will, of course, be additional expenses from today's rally that will come out in the next few weeks. Then moving on to the mission fund, because that fund is always zeroed out at the end of every rally with those funds that have been collected, disbursed 25% to the international LWMS, and then the remaining is split 50-50 between our selected home mission and world mission. So we, of course, as of November 1st, we had 0 in the fund. We have so far collected $3,267.02. And some additional monies have already been given to me today, and so this amount will grow, but then once we've collected all that, then within the next couple of weeks, that money will be dispersed to the missions and to LW International. And then our Send One Sister Fund, we began with $1,028, and that's what we have in it today, $1,028. We do have we will be sending 2 sisters to the international rally in our convention in Rochester, and that will be announced later. So after that, we will be down, of course, to $28 in that fund. So we will be encouraging additional donations to Send One Sister so that we can continue this program of, and typically it's one that we send to the international convention every year, and we had, if you remember, we had 2 because of the not holding a convention last year or the year before, or whichever year it was. So. All right. And then on the back of the sheet, I'm not going to read it or go through it, but you can see how the donations are broken down by congregation. And then finally, we are taking orders for this is a copy of the 2022 calendar, but taking orders for the 2023 LWMS calendar. So they're $10 each, and if you would like to purchase one for yourself or for your congregation, feel free to come and look at them at this one so you see, get an idea of what it's like, and then you can pay. I have a sign-up sheet up here. I'll stay up at the table up here after our business meeting is concluded, or any time during lunch. Just find me, and if you'd like to order a copy, and then those. You can explain. Maureen will explain how you'll get your copy, but we'll see to it that you get one. Any questions?
For Linda? Thank you. Yes. Okay, so yes, the calendars, if you want to order one, they make great gifts for your pastor's wife, Sunday school teachers, Christian day school teachers, yourself, someone in your congregation. They offer great prayer requests. It gives an update on a home or world mission. It has the birthdays of the home and world mission, so it's a wonderful calendar to be used daily. So Allie Bradley has said she would be at the convention. That's where she would pick them up this summer at Rochester, and then she would disperse them at the October rally at Bethlehem and Manassas, Virginia. Or if you're not going to be at that rally, then usually they have a pastor's conference, and if your pastor's attending, then he could pick up the calendar at that conference. So again, the calendars are $10. I did call Wauwatosa, the central office, to confirm that. Okay. So next would be the Spiritual Growth Mission Awareness Team, and I will, one of my fun jobs is to just put a little insert flyer in your packet of information so you can read it at your leisure. Last time I did 7 ways to pray, and now I have 7 tips on how to read the Bible. So I just think it's always good to be in the Bible, and it's not necessary that you take it out, but I just want to quick highlight a few of them. I'm just curious, Bibles, how many of you use the NIV? I'm just curious, want to raise your hand. And how many are using the new one, the Evangelical Heritage Version? Okay, I don't know if you're using that as your personal Bible or if your church is using it, but yep. So I had more hands for NIV.
Here we have EHV.
Okay, got it, yep. Okay, wonderful, so good. And another tip, of course, is set a regular time for reading. If you are one that likes to read the Bible, I'm just curious, how many like to read in the morning? Morning readers, how about afternoon, evening? So some like to do it before they go to bed or after work. And yep, so a wonderful way to wake up in the morning, or it's a wonderful way to go to bed because you have the peace of Jesus and the love of Jesus. So then the last one, you'll see 2 pictures of a tree that's healthy, that's watered and nurtured, and you'll see a withering, dying tree. So just, ponder that. Which one are you? Are you in God's Word? Are you healthy and growing? Are your roots planted, or could you use a little water? So just always remember that. On the back is just talking about Befriend a Mission, which we'll talk about this afternoon. Thank yous, which we'll probably do more in the afternoon. And then again, where our mission offerings are going as of yet today for the Wells Campus Ministry and the Nepal Project. So we've enjoyed supporting those 2 ministries at this time. All right, so then we will move on to unfinished business. And see how organized I am. I need some more papers. As you may remember, at our last April meeting, no one ran for president. So as I am vice president, one of my roles is to jump in, fill in as interim president, which I've kind of done for the last year. And so at our last board meeting in February, we thought, well, since we have a current board, we need to appoint a president because, we just had to. And Allie Bradley was offered that she would be willing to serve as president. So the board said, okay, that sounds good. So I wrote up a letter to say, thank you for agreeing to be our future president at our LWMS Heritage Circuit Board meeting on Tuesday, February 15th. The current board wanted to extend this letter to you now. We wanted to get this done before today's meeting. As we know, it's an appointed position. So this appointed position will start after the rally ends today and will continue until next year, Saturday, April 29, 2023. So it'll be a 1-year service appointment. And that rally will be at Chesapeake, Virginia at Resurrection Lutheran Church. And we just congratulated her on this appointment, and we know she'll play an important role as we work together to increase awareness of home and world missions. So that is the update on our president, and so we will install her this afternoon as one of our new board members. Okay, if there are no questions on that, I will turn over to Jenny. She's going to talk about the Send One Sister and reveal who we selected for that, and then she'll give an update on the Home and World Mission Project, which we did different this year. You voted as a congregation, then your reporter sent that information in, so it was 1 vote per church, and she has the results of that.
The recipients for the Send One Sister are Caitlin Mathis and Jessica Orth.
And would you like to stand up?
Would you please?
Please.
If possible, we'd appreciate if both of you ladies would want to give a presentation at the fall rally, just to hear what you thought of attending the international rally, and maybe encourage more people to go in the future too. Is that all for the Send One Sister? Okay. And then Linda will do the reimbursement after the rally is over in June. And then for the 2022 mission projects, the home mission project chosen was the First Public Service Assistance, which is helping congregations as they get ready to have their first worship service. Do you want me to read like what the numbers voting was? Okay. So 10 congregations voted for the First Public Service Assistance, and 4 congregations voted for home missionary conferences. And then for the world missions, 13 congregations voted for repatriation conferences. So when missionaries in the foreign fields are coming back to the U.S., this helps them acclimate to being back in the U.S. And then 1 congregation voted for the LWMS mission trips. So it's the repatriation conference for the world missions and First Public Service Assistance for the home missions. That's it.
I have a question. How did the Spiritual Growth Committee come up with these choices? Somebody said, why don't we have a country? I said, well, I don't know what the process was, for wide conferences, like a mission trip and a conference, versus Nepal or Indonesia or something. What was your board's thoughts on
All from the book, and then we tried to narrow down ones that hadn't been used before, especially in recent years. And then the board voted on it for which 2 to choose, so it wouldn't be too many choices. So that's why there's 2 for each, both home and world. So it's kind of, the board just tries to narrow it down, which things we think hadn't been supported recently or ever, depending on what the category was.
Okay, thank you.
So if anyone ever has input for what they think might be useful in the future, this was in February that we were talking about this. So it's, I guess, maybe in late December, January.
I said, all the projects that we get are out of a book, so all of them are good. And, and so my thought is, for my congregation, is I'm going to try to contact somebody and find out who might have been repatriated and gone to a conference, so that I can get a personal story to share. Because sometimes that human interest is what spurs on the mission giving, in some ways. So if I get something, of course, as a reporter, I'll share it with y'all.
Yeah, I don't know how much, maybe the central office or something would have input for either pastors who have gone to these or churches that are having their first public service. I'm guessing that's mostly missions that were recently approved. But
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I can speak on that a little bit too. Like for the First Public Service Assistance, I just joined Huntersville Lutheran Church in February, and we're still doing the church in a box. So every week we have a trailer, and it has all the different stuff you need on there, and it's getting banged up. I think they've been doing it three years now, and we have to set up and take down. So I mean, that's a big blessing for our church to have that support of the First Public Service Assistance, that helped them get their feet on the ground and get going. So I got personal, and so that's cool. And the other thing I can briefly, we also have joint mission projects, needs, and we were thinking of trying one of those, and I just didn't get, I didn't know if we could do it because it wasn't considered a home or world, but they said just go ahead and pick one if you want, and you can just assign it as a home or world. So for the reporters, it would be on pages 14 and 15. Joint means that it's kind of home and world. It doesn't really fall in one camp or the other. They're kind of joined together. So that's a good question, Lynette. Thank you. All right, I don't think there's any other unfinished business unless one of you ladies can think of something. Otherwise, we'll jump into new business. And as you may remember too, Pastor Olson from Shepherd of the Bay accepted a call to Christ in Eden Prairie. So he took that role. And so then we had the Spiritual Growth Mission Awareness pastor vacancy. And Pastor Huffman, he was willing to, of course, didn't have a choice, but he was so awesome and he helped me a lot with my role, and he came up with a bunch of ideas for our theme for our rally today, and he's just been a lifesaver for me. So when we were on our conference call in February, our Zoom with our board, Jenna Goldberg is currently our Spiritual Growth Mission Awareness woman, and her good old husband, Pastor Fred, was in the background, so we're like, okay, Pastor Fred, would you consider being our Spiritual Growth Mission Awareness pastor? And of course he said sure, so I have a letter here too that I extended to him on February 17th, just thanking him for agreeing to be appointed as our Spiritual Growth Mission Awareness pastor. And again, his term will just be 1 year, so next year when we're up in Chesapeake, Virginia, that will be his last rally, and I don't know if he'll be able to physically come to any of the rallies, but at least he'll be on our Zoom calls, and the Spiritual Growth Mission Awareness women and the vice president will be in contact with him. Okay, what you all been waiting for next would be the election of officers, so everyone can take out their white sheet with the names on there. Hopefully you've either saw the reports on St. John's website or you looked at this morning, so it's not a surprise to who's on there. But one of the things is we do have one name. They've all volunteered to have their name on there, and we thank them. But we also can take appointments from the floor. If one of you ladies think, oh, maybe I'd like to try that, we also can write your name, and you'll see there's a blank at the bottom. So we will start with the vice president. I just want to say thank you. I've been doing it for 2 years, and I just feel I need a break, so I took my name out of the running. And Lynette Huffman has agreed to put her name on the ballot, and so she would be our vice president. But if there's anyone else out here that thinks I would like to do that, you would get to do what I do. And one big plus, of course, is the Befriend a Mission program. I've really enjoyed getting to know the 3 pastors, and I just feel I call them every month or every other month and text them and send them cards, so that's been real special to me, and working with the board has been wonderful. Oh, I'll start crying now. So anyway, anyone else want to put their name on the ballot for vice president? Okay. Then Secretary Jessica, if you'd like to stand again. This is Jessica. Look at that. She has offered to run as secretary. It was just a joy to meet you last year at the rally, and she said, I'm willing to serve. She felt, and you can kind of read what she likes to do, and we are so excited to have her. Thank you. So as secretary, you do what Allie does right now, just taking lots of minutes, keeping up to date with member contact information, and sending a lot of written stuff, emails to central office, and so secretary minutes and all that. So is there anyone else that would like to run against Jessica or with Jessica? Okay. Next, we have Spiritual Growth Mission Awareness. Jenna will be done with her term today, so we needed someone else. And we have new blood. I love new blood. Caitlin Mathis, if you'd like to stand up. She has considered or consented to have her name, and she filled out the ballot of information. And we are just excited to, I even had her on our Zoom when we had our meeting in February. So I said, well, hopefully I didn't scare her away, And I just wanted her to get a taste of what one of our meetings was like. So so that was a wonderful experience. And again, they just help with ideas for speakers, help with ideas for home and world mission projects, ask questions. That's kind of what I did 2 years ago, Lynette, right? I asked lots of questions. I'm a question person. So, and you can come up with topics or themes for speakers, and if anything with spiritual growth or how to get more into your Bible or mission awareness. Anyone else that would like to put their name on the ballot? And then last one's pastoral advisory. We have pastor working team from Our Savior up in Roanoke. And there really aren't any other pastors here, so we will just do that. All right, looks like we're running unopposed this year. So all those in favor of Lynette, Jessica, Caitlin, and pastor working team be officers, say aye. Aye. Okay, any negatives or no's? Okay. All right, this will pass as read and as noted. Congratulations, you will be installed by Pastor Huffman at the close of service today. Congratulations, welcome aboard. I know you'll be an asset and you'll enjoy it and you'll get a lot out of it and it'll be a blessing. Okay, then just brief, because I know we have to eat lunch. Okay, so as we know, we got the convention coming up in June. You have information in your folder. You got a postcard and a purple sheet. So like Pastor Borman says, come register. This is one of the closer ones to our home, so if you can afford it. And if anyone has any questions, I don't know if you need lodging help or how to get there, Lynette's a good reference point, so if you have any questions, you can direct them to her. Is that okay? Yes?
You've heard that they need volunteers. If you're fearful about signing up ahead of time because you just don't know what your schedule is going to be like, but you find that, wow, I really want to help, when you get there, just go to the information desk and say, hey, I'm willing to just sit here for an hour and help, register people or up to the convention or sit at the display room and make sure nobody walks away with, the Malawi death mask or whatever it is. So none of these things are you going to be on in the public eye. You're just there to be an extra pair of hands. Yes, Elaine?
Do you know if Thai Village is going to be there again?
I don't know if Thai Village is going to be there again or not.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yep, I had that written down too, volunteer. So yep, if you can sign up ahead of time, there's a place online that you can do that or in person. Okay, and then let's see, upcoming events, I'm just going to jump at the bottom then. So the 59th Annual Convention's June 23rd through 26th. Our fall rally will be October 1st at Bethlehem and Manassas, Virginia. We also have our spring rally next year, April 29th at Resurrection, Chesapeake, Virginia. And then the fall, October 7th, I have a question mark. So if there are any congregations here today that would like to host, you can let Allie know, as she will be the new president. And I know that seems far away, but goodness, time flies, as they say. So just want to put that out there for any church that might want to host. Okay, and then we got that. And Lynette was just going to say a couple things to encourage you and invite you to the fall rally, and she can do that now. Thank
you. Y'all need to come.
Okay,
Pastor Borman said it, I'm going to say it, come. If you need a room, I got it. We got Stephanie's got a couple spare rooms. I'm not volunteering her. You have to talk to her. But we're a really nice church for singing. The circuit started there back in 1987, so you'll see the 35 years. We haven't figured out if we're going to give you a bookmark or a history book, or we're just going to put you 35 tattooed on your arm, and that's what you're going to have to remember us by for the rest of your life. But we'll come up with something, and don't be afraid to come, and bring your friends. Caitlin came to her first rally because we connected at a church event and just started hugging on each other. Jessica, you came because of people like Karen.
It takes a village, so invite the people and do everything. Other date things that aren't quite LWMS, but if you don't mind me mentioning it, May 16th, you saw the flyer for Pastor Huffman's church, the choir concert. May 8th, it's in the notes, and I met the man, his name is Pastor Nathan Strutz. He is going to be the new minister at Tree of Life in Cary, North Carolina. His installation is May 8th. The information is in that yellow packet, the sheet with the yellow that has all the congregation updates. Thank you for the time. Please come.
Okay. October 1st?
October 1st, just, yes.
Yep, October 1st, yep, first day of October. Okay, then I have other, something to consider too. They're always looking for a circuit to host a convention, like what will be up in Rochester. Next year will be in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I just checked my records. I see it was 2012 when Winston-Salem had done an international convention. So I will kind of pass that on to the new board. But if you think we could host a convention, you know, the International Convention Board would assist us and help us and tell us what to do and plan it. And, you know, we would have to help with registration and setup and decorations and whatever else is all involved, but I just know that's all something that we could consider maybe in the future doing too. Okay, so yep, like Lynette said, yep, there's flyers out there for Pastor Huffman's church Bethany concert. Okay. I'm sorry? May 16th. May 16th is the Bethany concert at King of Prussia. Peace at King of Prussia. Okay, so, things to remember between now and when we have our next speaker. Calendars, if you want to order a calendar, Linda Springer's the gal to go to. I have some table displays when you go out the church doors to the right. If you'd like to look at them, I kind of made up 2 display boards and there are flyers on the table. Just don't take the calendar, but most everything else you could take. There's like Befriend a Mission, LWMS, if you want to hand them out to your ladies at your congregation, take as many as you want. I'll go over there after I'm done here. Offering again is in the back, so if you're writing a check, make sure you have your church identified on the check, and then how you want the money spent. Working funds, Send One Sister, or missions. And anything else, yes? Oh, okay. And then I think, then we'll have to adjourn and then we'll have lunch. Okay.
The one thing I did forget to say, or actually wanted to mention while I was up here as circuit secretary, is I truly want to thank each and every one of you, the reporters, for sending in your highlights of all the activities that you have done throughout the year. It's such a joy to read through the different things that you go through, especially when we're still kind of in the COVID era, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and they're all in the folders, so please read them. Some of these congregations have really done some excellent outreach. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you again, reporters.
Absolutely. Yes, and I had a list of thank yous too, and I'll just do that too. Of course, I want to thank our speakers, Pastor Borman, Pastor Walsh. Thank our whole St. John's has just outdone themselves. Yeah, with the food, the hospitality, decorations, they've just thought of everything. It's been a wonderful experience to work with Deb and Ellen and Tina. Tina, I'm sure you're listening too, so thank you. Tina's in I call it the IT room. She's the one that's doing the slides and the microphone. Thank you to all those that are watching virtual, and thank you for coming to that. My officers, again, thank you. Thank you for everyone that's here with my officers. I couldn't have done this without them. The Wells Foundation, which is the one that provides the pens, the paper, and the folders, and there's information on there, and there's even a letter in there thanking LWMS for what they do. So please make sure you read that too. Okay, get my hand. Hammer time. Okay. All right, anything else? Okay, I call this meeting adjourned. Oh, yes?
Should we say table prayer while we're together?
Yes, we can do that after. Yep, we'll adjourn. Okay, meeting adjourned. Okay, thank you. All right, so yes, we'll quick pray here. I'll do the before and the after. Come, Lord Jesus, be our guest, and let these gifts to us be blessed. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. Amen. All right, I'm sure the food's waiting for you. We will probably... Yeah, usually we try to do pictures. We'll postpone that. So money, calendars right now, table displays, offering. Those are your 3 jobs.